The problem and the downfall of the Carlton Football Club. That's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. But before we get into things, please hit that subscribe button if you are new. We are closing in on 2K subscribers. Drop a like on this video if you enjoy as well. And feel free down below in the comments to let out a vent if you're a Carlton supporter, or if you're not, feel free to comment down below some other issues you think have led towards the Carlton downfall. Without further ado, let's get into things. So obviously, as we all know, Carlton have hit rock bottom. They've hit an all-time new low, in my opinion, for club history. Currently, they're in the bottom four among the likes of Hawthorn, North Melbourne, and obviously the West Coast Eagles after 6 straight embarrassing losses. Now, how has this happened? That's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. So now, the first thing we're going to have a look at is the season overview from the Blues so far. Now, obviously, they started the season off with a draw, then 3 wins in a row over the Cats, Giants, and North, that having them second on the ladder in round 4. Then after a loss in round 6 to the Crows and then a loss in round 6 to the Saints, it has been a downhill spiral. It looks like it just has no ending for the Blues. Obviously, they did get a 100-point win versus West Coast. Then after that, it has been 6 straight embarrassing losses, and it is getting extremely concerning. Now, for me, the main issue here for the Blues seems to be their struggle of scoring and scoring power this season. So far this season, Carlton has only averaged 72 points per game. And for a little bit of context, West Coast, the worst team by far in the league, only averages 61. So only an 11-point difference between these two teams. Obviously, the key difference here between these forward lines is Carlton have 2 bloody Coleman medalists who in stages this season have just looked like they've forgotten how to kick a goal. Obviously, they've been doing around the body and all this crap. They just can't kick a set shot, and it's getting really embarrassing for the Blues now. Obviously, in these 6 straight losses, it has gone down to 56 points per game. They're averaging around 7 goals and 13 behind, so obviously their inaccuracy, another key concerning factor. Now, I just think for the Blues to fix this issue, they need a little bit more small forward pressure / small forward presence. Now, obviously not getting Papley a few years ago is really hurting them badly. Now, obviously, with how limited their cap is, I think this issue is going to be very hard for the Blues to fix. Now, the next concerning factor for me for the Blues seems to be Paddy Crips. In my opinion, it seems to be he's having a little bit of a Brownlow hangover. Now, I know what you're thinking. Most of his general stats are pretty much the exact same with just a little small drop-off. That's not really what I'm getting at. For me, it seems to be his impact seems to be way less this year, especially as the season goes on. In a must-win game against the Blues, everything on the line, he only gets 19 disposals. And just for me, it didn't even feel like he was out there at stages. His kicking efficiency this season is down to 52%, which means if Paddy Crips has 2 kicks, one of them is not helping out the team, and then it's just general disposal efficiency is 67%, which is obviously not very great. Now, obviously this season, Paddy Crips' slight drop-off may kind of be due to fatigue / injury. Obviously, it gets to the point where you just feel bad for him. Every year, it seems like it's his job, his responsibility to carry the Blues through to the finals, even if no one else is stepping up. And once again, we just have to ask for even more from the Brownlow medalist. Now, obviously, this season, the Blues have been a little bit unlucky with injuries, obviously, in patches of the season, missing out on some of their key halfback players that give them that run and drive. Obviously, not enough for it to be an excuse for how poor they've been playing, but if you told me a team with a core of Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow, both Coleman medalists, like I said before, Walsh, Crips, who's obviously a Brownlow medalist, Akers, Sard, Weering, McGovern, De Koning, Doherty, and Chera, and then obviously a couple of players who've been in and out of the side this year with injury, is not a final side, but yet a bottom 4 side, I'd be thinking, mate, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know footy. So obviously with Carlton, coaching always comes into question whenever the team fails to deliver with the Blues. But I feel like it's just gotten to the stage where it's time to blame the players. After 3 or 4 coaches in the last 10 years since they've made the final, it just can't keep being the coach's fault. It's time to start blaming the players because it just feels like they're playing empty footy. Whenever the team needs to deliver, it's a big 3 or 4 weeks. The team always just seems to crumble. The players can't step up to the occasion. Maybe it's the culture. The culture at the Carlton Football Club just maybe isn't good enough. You could blame the board as well. Maybe they aren't making things right for the players, the coaches, and everyone involved. But I'm certain if this continues, I think Voss will be at the door soon. I know Carlton is saying they'll probably keep him to the end of the season, but if things don't get much better, I could just see him being sacked at the end of the season. Or knowing Carlton, they'll say the coach is safe, and then randomly on a Tuesday morning, Voss will be out the door. Now, obviously, it's time to look at the run home for the Blues and let's see what we think they can deliver for the rest of the season. So the run home for Carlton, they would take on the Suns, then Hawks, then Freo, then Power, then Eagles, then Pies, then Saints, then D's, then the Suns again, then the Giants to end the season. Now, obviously, they should win a few games to end off the season. They definitely should be winning most of these on paper, but obviously, we don't know what Carlton is going to deliver at this stage. Now, I don't think, even though their fixture is pretty easy to end the year, I don't think they're going to be able to do enough to make finals, in my opinion, just due to how congested from 4th to 14th is so far this season. Now, technically, they still can make the finals. Obviously, everything would have to go perfect now. Obviously, this would have to be if the players just magically all wake up one morning and decide to be good, but obviously, that's not going to happen. Personally, I think the Blues finish around 12 to 14. Obviously, a massive underperformance for what the expectations was. Now, at the start of the season, I had them finishing 7th on the ladder, which I thought I was being harsh, but obviously... Now, another thing I forgot to mention, this is probably not the right time of the video to point this out, but another thing I forgot to say earlier on, 2022, obviously they were so good at the start of the season, the first half of the year, they were looking like they were a flag contender. Then, well, the absolute crumble of the end of the season. Obviously, they were in the top 8 every round up until the very last day of football. The second and third last games of the season decided who was going to make the final. Would it be my Western Bulldogs or would it be Carlton? Now, the Bulldogs obviously had a very poor season the first half, but then they got things going and they did what they needed to do. All Carlton had to do was get a draw or a win. And somehow, some way, in typical Carlton fashion, they lost by 1 point to their arch rivals to give them top 4 berth and for Carlton to miss out on the 8. Now, this was on the back of 4 straight losses to end the season, which I completely forgot about. But once again, Carlton just disappointing. Now, at the end of the day, you've just got to feel for the fans, the 90 almost 1,000 members who almost on average give up $100 per year to support their club. And while this is what they deliver, if you've got a Carlton fan as a mate, make sure to always check up on them after the Blues play, because at sometimes I just feel so bad for them. The level of frustration I get watching Carlton play sometimes, and I'm a Dogs fan, so I could not imagine the frustration the Carlton fans have now. In a couple seconds, I'm going to put up some videos and some clips of Carlton fans. The anger that they've gotten to, it's just out of control. There's brawls, there's abuse of the players, it's on radio. It's just gotten to a new level, so I'm going to put up a bunch of clips for you guys to watch of the new levels of anger the Blues fans have gotten to.
Furious Carlton fans turning on their own.
Take the jumper off! You're a disgrace! A disgrace! All of you!
Not even a third-generation Silvani was saved from the abuse.
Stop, Judge! You're a disgrace! A disgrace to the families!
As diehard Blues vented after last night's loss to Essendon. A wild fight also broke out in the stands, with police forced to intervene. They've launched an investigation into the brawl. On a night, 9 people were evicted from the MC.
The players don't care. They don't give a rat's backside. They don't want to chase. They don't want to play. You have Ashley Hansen before the game saying that no one in the club listens to outside noise. Maybe you should. Maybe you should. Maybe the coaching panel, the players, the board must listen to us members. We've got 88,000, almost 90,000 members. You want us to sign up next year? Bloody show us something. Show us the heart.
Well, as you can see, the Blues fans, they have hit a new high of anger and frustration for their club. And I mean, fair enough to them. They have just been through so much over the past few years now. Obviously, the Blues have got the bye this week. Then after that, things need to change very quickly. Otherwise, this off-season, some big axes will need to be swung this off-season and some big moves will need to be made. But that is the downfall and disappointment of Carlton in 2023 and the past couple of years as well. But I hope you enjoyed a little bit of a different video on the channel. Let me know if you enjoyed these types of videos and if I should do a few more of them. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed. Feel free to vent down below if you're a Carlton fan. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're almost at 2K, and I'll see you all in the next one.